Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We are going to be here to be talking about Monday Night Raw from March the 3rd, 2024. Before we get into the show, let us discuss some news and notes. Number one note, Linda McMahon is now the Secretary of Education. So hopefully she keeps her word and she starts to actually chop that thing down to size and get it moved over to the states, which is exactly what we want. Of course, she's going to need Congress to help her do that, but I hope that actually occurs. Anyway, as a wrestling fan, I got to say it's pretty cool to have somebody who was in wrestling so high up in the government, and not just somebody who was a bit player who did a cameo here and there like Donald Trump, but somebody who was integral in the growth of pro wrestling. For her to be in a Secretary of Education is very interesting. So hopefully this thing works out. But that's it. All right. So the next piece kind of is attached to the first piece. There was no Black History Month celebration for WWE, and that led to a lot of people having feelings. I did an entire video about this, and I'm going to scrap it because it's like 10-12 minutes. It's not really a lot of time. But like What Culture and some other people have made written articles about WWE ignoring Black History Month. So I'm just going to say here what I would have said there. And that is, I had a couple of little things. For starters, number one, I didn't notice it. Not just because I don't care about Black History Month, even though I kind of don't. In my mind, I don't need validation from corporations or other organisms about Black history. I don't need the virtue signaling. I don't really need it. If you don't care about it, you don't care about it. That's fine. You know, there's a lot of people who don't really care about Black history, and WWE under Vince, they made that, they stretched that hand out to say, hey, let's talk about Black wrestlers and history. Let's celebrate some Black wrestlers in history. That was fine for me, but them not doing it, I didn't even notice it. I did not notice that there did not have a Black History Month celebration until a bunch of woke fans started to complain about it. So that's two things. One, I didn't even notice in the first place. Two, I don't require that level of validation from corporations. So it's a little bit different for me. I know a lot of people feel the same. I know a lot of people disagree. A lot of people will disagree because they'll say, well, even if it's not for us, it should be for the talent. You know, the Kofi Kingstons and the Carmelo Hayeses and all these people who are on the roster. It would feel good to know that WWE actually cares about Black history. Sure. One of the things that I think I've been talking about it all month of February is people deciding that Black history is just Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, yada, 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 and not really taking the opportunity to discuss Black history in any real detail. And basically just giving you boilerplate head nods about, oh yeah, we recognize this person and we recognize that person, and not talking about the significance of these people and the significance of other events that kind of went under the radar that were worth talking about too. So, but I saw What Culture. They wrote an article basically saying that, is it that, you know, the American political zeitgeist right now is about downplaying DEI, and WWE is just playing into that. Like, you know, most of these companies are now running away from diversity. It's like, well, no, not really, because WWE also did not have a tribute to the troops last year. And most people did not notice it. You know, December came and went. Usually that's when they did tribute to the troops, was either in the summer or they did it in the winter. In the later part of the Vince era, it would usually be a taped show that was pasted somewhere in December. There was no tribute to the troops at all. And most people didn't even notice it. But it's not like they don't care about veterans. It's just that they decided they weren't going to do a show specifically for veterans anymore. And you can feel how you feel about that, but that was a Vince thing that was created, I think, in 2004 or something like that. And it's worth discussing, but I don't think it's worth flipping your wig over. And there were a lot of people who felt disrespected and disappointed because WWE did not have a celebration for Black History Month. And I think that if you're that kind of fan, you are able to feel that way. I'm not going to tell you how to feel. It's just that I don't care, because to me, Black history is more than Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and all that stuff anyway. They'll never actually get to the Black history that I want to discuss, which I talk about throughout Black History Month on this channel. But it would have been nice for like some of the Black wrestlers that have passed on to get some recognition. But that's almost always the case, especially now that, we should be moving towards the Hall of Fame. They're talking about there's 47 days until WrestleMania. There's only been one person announced for the Hall of Fame. Even after Raw tonight, there's still been only one person announced for the Hall of Fame, and that's Triple H. He made sure to get himself in there. But what about everybody else, for God's sake? Nobody else has been announced for the Hall of Fame. All right, so there was some discussion by Endeavor. I'm trying to figure out what they were talking about here, but they were answering some questions about what's going to go on with Peacock, because the Peacock deal is actually up next year, and Mark Shapiro, who is the vice president of WWE, I don't know, he's with Endeavor. He's one of those guys who came in when Vince sold the company. He's talking about how NBC Universal has been a good partner, and they're keen to renew the Peacock deal. So instead of waiting for the last minute, I'm not sure if I love the idea or not. I just think that they're trying to avoid putting all their eggs in one basket. But Triple H said he's going to resist doing 2-night events every month because it's too much. And Mark Shapiro and these kinds of guys are basically ignoring him. And it's like, yeah, well, we'll see what we can do. These guys don't care, man. They're sharks, Triple H don't want to have 2-night events every month, but it ain't up to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he don't get to make that decision. It's going to be up to Nick Khan and all these guys. He ain't working for Vince. Another thing that has been a talking point in the Mark Shapiro interview is the pricing of the tickets. So Mark Shapiro claims that they're still optimizing revenue from tickets. So that means that they're not done with the ticket pricing yet. Yes, a lot of this is Ticketmaster hiking up the price. But WWE, if they had a problem with Ticketmaster, they would be able to stand. They have the balls to stand up and say, look, you're pricing our people out of the market. But they don't do that because they always have celebrities and other people like that who are able to buy tickets. The big issue with this, and I've been saying this again and again, is that wrestling fans, you're asking a lot of the middle America or Southern wrestling fans to travel a lot and spend a lot of money on WrestleMania. Not just the ticket is expensive. You're talking about you're holding the shows only in big tourist towns like New Orleans and Las Vegas. These people, if you lived in, I don't know, Mississippi, and you want to go to WrestleMania, you have to fly to Vegas, pay for a hotel room, and a $3,000 ticket. That's everything that you probably earned that year. That's like half of your yearly pay just on one WrestleMania ticket. Who knows if you want to take your kids or take your brother-in-law or something like that, is just forget it. Eventually, WWE will get bit by that bug of people who just simply cannot pay to go to these shows. But they'll probably say, well, we got sponsorships that'll cover any tickets that are not sold. So then there's that. But the backdoor Endeavor guys, they're about to drive Triple H nuts. My opinion on the Peacock deal is I would prefer WWE puts everything in one place. So if they're going to have everything on Netflix, that would be fine. I'll just be able to get Netflix and then, because I don't have Netflix right now. Because I don't want to pay for Netflix and Peacock. One or the other. You got WrestleMania on Peacock, I'm paying for Peacock. All right, so that's that. Whatever they're talking about doing on Netflix, I'll find a bootleg or something. But there's a lot of discussion floating around about the various business dealings of WWE, about them not giving talent free tickets, the cost of tickets, how many PLEs are going to end up being 2-night events, even though Triple H is trying to resist it. He doesn't run the company anymore. He just runs the creative. Nick Khan is running the company. If Nick Khan wants to have 2-night Money in the Banks and 2-night Clash at the Castle, it's going to happen. And Triple H just got to adapt. And that's unfortunate for him, because it's unfortunate for us too, but it's unfortunate as shit for Triple H, because that's more work for him. All right, let's get into this show. CM Punk starts the show full of piss and vinegar. I mean, he was very angry. So this is the State of the Union. He's coming here to address his enemies. Very Eddie Kingston. I know that AEW fans like, oh, what do you mean you're going to address your enemies? That's what we do over here. He said he wanted some names. He got the name Rock. He called The Rock a bald fraud. Said that the bald fraud, The Rock, is having a midlife crisis, thinks he's immune to criticism, says that he's pretending like he cares about this business. He's full of bullshit. Then he says that he's never been so delusional and so desperate to carry around a fake title. And then he did the arm pat, saying that you fake. This business doesn't give you goosebumps. Somebody else yelled out Cena. He says that Cena, we see through you. You stole something from me at Elimination Chamber. Says you gave up. You gave up on these kids. You gave up on yourself. You've been selling bullshit for 20 years. And then called Cena a bald fraud as well. And then when it comes to Seth Rollins, he said Becky Lynch needs to come get her man, because if he gets to him first, he's going to put him in a wheelchair. So Rollins comes out, because Rollins ain't scared of Punk, and they start to have a pull-apart brawl. The fans are very excited about the pull-apart, but they do these things every week, so I don't get too excited about them. I don't care about pull-apart brawls. You do this every week, dog. They did another pull-apart brawl later. Then Seth Rollins got to yelling at Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce, for some reason, does not like making matches. So Rollins is yelling about Adam Pearce not making a match with him and Punk. And Adam Pearce is backed into the corner. He's like, okay. Steel cage match next week in Madison Square Garden. I was like, okay, not bad. They have the kind of feud where Madison Square Garden actually works and a steel cage match works. They can't do a Hell in a Cell match or something like that because Punk just had one with McIntyre. So this works. Also, I'm hoping, praying that this prevents the triple threat idea that I've seen floated around on the internet about Rollins, Punk, and Roman in a triple threat match. For starters, that's stupid. Look, I hate triple threat matches. I really, really do. It's the biggest fucking cop out since booking began. The biggest cop out is I have two top contenders. I'm going to put them both in the match. That's terrible booking. Absolutely terrible. You split the audience almost every single time you do it. It's a way of trying to cover up that you don't have something for one person. And because you don't have something for them, but they're still important, we're going to shovel them into another match. And that's ridiculous. Commit to cutting somebody off the card or giving them something else to do. I hate triple threat matches. So the idea that this is going to be a triple threat match with nothing on the line because nobody's a champion. So why would they have a triple threat match with no champion? So the idea that Punk is fighting Rollins in a cage gives me some level of hope that it'll end up likely with Rollins and Roman at WrestleMania. I don't like that idea because I really don't need to see Rollins and Roman wrestle again. But last time they had a one-on-one match, there was no finish. I think Rollins got disqualified or Roman got disqualified. So then that begs the question, what does Punk do for WrestleMania if Rollins is going to wrestle Roman or if Roman's going to wrestle Punk? Now, we still do have Punk's favor. That is going to be the epic question when it comes to Punk's road to WrestleMania. You know, is he going to use his favor with Paul Heyman to get an audience for Roman Reigns or to get something out of Paul Heyman? I'm hoping that angle has not been forgotten because I really don't want this triple threat idea. I just think it's terrible, it's stupid, and it doesn't make sense. It may be a way to squeeze Punk's WrestleMania main event in because it likely will put Roman on last. But get the fuck out of here with that triple threat idea, man. It's terrible. This is so dry. A triple threat match because these three guys can't stand each other. Oh fuck! Make up your mind. Just send somebody home, then. Just make up your mind about what match you want to have, and then book the other guy with somebody else. It's that simple. Just don't make it a triple threat match. It's stupid. And why would you build a 3-man feud? Why would you do that? That wouldn't even make sense. Anyway, Judgment Day, they're still having their issues. Liv Morgan wants Raquel Rodriguez to win the Women's Intercontinental title. She says she'll be watching the Intercontinental Championship match tonight. Finn Balor was upset about Dominic and Carlito getting embarrassed by Braun Breaker, then says he's going to handle Braun Breaker himself. Dominic once again mentions a new member to the team, and Finn does not want any new members. Everything about this is boring. Finn calls out Braun. They decide they're going to fight. Then Braun goes out there. He ends up fighting all the members of Judgment Day, beating everybody up. So now they're teasing, after they teased him fighting Penta, and by him I mean Braun Breaker. They teased Braun Breaker fighting Penta. They teased Braun Breaker fighting AJ Styles. Now they've put their foot on the gas to him fighting Finn Balor. So, look, Finn Balor versus Braun Breaker, fun match. I don't hate that idea. But what was the point of them teasing all those other matches? And then, there's Meltzer saying it's going to be some kind of multi-man thing. I hate that idea. I love any match with Braun Breaker, except maybe Kevin Owens or something like that. But not that multi-man thing. I don't like that. Fatal 4-ways, ladder match. I don't like none of that stuff. So, Braun Breaker needs to be on the card. He's the Intercontinental Champion. He should be, one of the more important people in the company. He's coming across like an afterthought. Maybe Finn Balor is a good opponent for him. Finn Balor's, he's not a strong heel because he never fucking wins. And maybe if you want to do that, you spend some time getting Finn some wins so that it won't look so bad. Because like Braun Breaker beating a guy who never wins, it doesn't really help Braun Breaker at all, right? But a 4-on-1 with the Judgment Day, so Dominic Mysterio and Carlito and all them being there too, that could add some level of weight to the Finn Balor story. But they seem to be putting the gas on Finn Balor as an idea for Braun Breaker, and I'm willing to accept that. I liked all the ideas one-on-one so far anyway. I liked Penta as an idea for WrestleMania. I liked AJ Styles as an idea, and I liked Finn Balor as one. Hopefully it doesn't end up being a fatal 4-way or a triple threat or something, because I got the feeling that there's going to be quite a few triple threat matches on this card. And I'm talking about both nights. Gunther defeated Otis. This went on way too long. Gunther called him a freak. Said he's in the same category as Jey Uso. He's a clown. Doesn't belong in his ring. They have a match that went on too long. Actually, Otis got substantial amount of offense on Gunther before Gunther wins the match. Then Tozawa jumps Gunther. Like, why is he having a mini feud with Alpha Academy? He's the world champion, for God's sake. He spent weeks and weeks at home doing nothing, and now he's beating up the two biggest jabronis in the company. Jey Uso came out there, did a really shitty spear on Gunther to chase him off. Jay is then attacked by Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. He fights them off too before he's attacked by Gunther and choked out. I'm not a big fan of this whole sleeper thing that Gunther's got going on here. It takes too long. But Grayson Waller and Austin Theory being the guys against Jey Uso for a short mini feud is okay. Grayson Waller is going to be Jey Uso's opponent next week. I'm fine with that. Jey Uso cut a promo on the show as well, and it was the same promo he cut before about people doubting him, and now he's getting to the point where he's doubting himself. It's goofy. We've been hearing this since WrestleMania. Get out of here. The Women's Intercontinental Championship match, Lyra Valkyrie defeated Ivy Nile. I think the lights were a little too bright for Ivy. Her moves were okay. She almost lost Lyra on a powerbomb at one point. But you could tell that she still needs a lot of seasoning. I'm talking about Ivy Nile. Lyra Valkyrie is actually very good. It was an okay match. Lyra did a really good job of selling the leg. But they didn't do anything with Raquel and Lyra after the match. I guess they're going to build up to that. I don't expect Raquel to challenge Lyra for that belt at WrestleMania, however, because there's probably going to be some kind of tag team match. AJ Styles is backstage. He's got an opinion on John Cena. All of a sudden, Karrion Kross jumps all over him like a big brother, just hugging him. And Karrion Kross is walking around like DJ Quick by the head. He's got like a silk press or something. Like, why he got a pimp press in his head? What's going on here? I don't think I've ever seen a man's hair so straight and silky. Why? Why? This is Karrion Kross we're talking about here. You know, like he looks like he's about to get rap all over a Battle Cat beat. Jesus Christ. Anyway, Karrion Kross is instigating. That's his job now. He's not a wrestler anymore. He's a professional instigator. Very cool for Karrion Kross. He's actually going to go do an indie show in a couple of weeks, maybe. I think maybe over WrestleMania weekend as a benefit show for Chris Bay out in Las Vegas, where WWE is allowing some of their guys to do that. That's pretty cool. Chris Bay was in a really bad situation. You know, was hurt pretty bad. So it's nice that they're still trying to raise money, not just for just for his medical costs, which is. I don't want to veer too far into this, but I'm going to. A lot of fans, they get too woke. You know, when Jake something recently got hurt too, and TNA was posting the GoFundMe for Jake something. I think he got hurt at an indie show, and a bunch of people are yelling at TNA that they should just pay the talent. Medical costs. Like, for starters, I don't think Jake something was hurt at TNA Ring. I think he was hurt in another company, and not like it matters anyway. But let's say that the talent is hurt in the TNA Ring. There's more to it than just the medical costs. You know, these people cannot work. You know, they still have other bills. They still need food. If they have children, they still have that. You know, they still need to pay the cost of transporting things. There's a lot of other costs that go with injury and illness. And I'm having a lot of experience with that right now. That, you know, a GoFundMe could cover while the company doesn't feel like, okay, you know, we're paying the big stuff, you know, the treatments and everything. But you got to figure out how to, you know, get to the treatment on your own. You got to figure out, you know, what you're going to eat. How are you going to pay your rent? All that kind of stuff is on you. And talent and having friends that are willing to help and fans who are willing to help is great. I think fans need to stop tripping off when you see a wrestler needing a GoFundMe. Just stop it. You know, just give or don't give. We don't need your opinion about why the GoFundMe exists. Either give money or don't, motherfucker. There's more to it than just he got to get his head screwed back on right. He has other things going on. You know, even if it's just buying bags of dog food or something like that for his pets, that's something he cannot do because he does not have an income. So if you can't think, you know, why the GoFundMe exists or why a benefit show or something like that would exist, even though he's signed to $1 billion company, it's like, yeah, just like if you have insurance, your insurance company is going to pay only for your medical costs. If you can't fucking eat, that's not on them. All right? They're not going to make sure that you can have food too. They're not going to pay your light bill too. All right? But I'm sorry. Every time I've seen a GoFundMe float around for a wrestler, usually you just see people attacking the promotion. Like the promotion is not paying for the wrestler's medical costs. It's like, even if that was the case, there's still so many other things that go along with it that you have to take account for that fans aren't thinking about. But let's move on. AJ Styles has to wrestle Logan Paul. Again, great match for Logan Paul. Great match for AJ Styles. I don't see a problem with that. It's just basically a mid-card highlight match. It'll be fine. Ludwig Kaiser came to the ring. He says that he is the future. He says that he has been everything that he says he is. He does not have any unfinished business with Penta. And he says that he keeps bothering him. He's going to hurt him. He's going to teach him fear. Penta came out and Ludwig Kaiser got beat up by Penta. So they're continuing this thing. This certainly isn't going to be a WrestleMania level match. This seems like it's going to happen the day before WrestleMania or the day after. But here's one positive note. Rey Fenix is free. Apparently now he's a free agent. Is it possible that Ludwig Kaiser is going to team up with Pete Dunne and they will be partners for? I don't like that idea. That felt sour coming out of my mouth. Kaiser is a solo star. You know, with the right push, the right program, Kaiser could be, to me, he's better than Gunther. All around. Gunther is, you know, more of a physical wrestler in terms of style, and he's, of course, a taller guy. But when you talk about everything from character to presentation, Kaiser is right there. And then when you add in his mannerisms and his charisma, he's levels above Gunther. He just needs the opportunity, and he's not going to get it because Triple H is Gunther crazy, as are so many people right now. So I think Ludwig Kaiser is going to be a very solid Intercontinental Champion one day. I think he needs to get away from Gunther. Him and Gunther shouldn't be on the same show. They should move Kaiser to SmackDown so he could flow and be on his own. I don't mind his thing with Penta. It's just I don't know where it's going. I don't see it meaning something prominent. This feels like an Andre the Giant Battle Royal situation here that we're giving a lot of TV time to. But also, Penta is a rising star in WWE. He's super over, selling a ton of merchandise. Maybe you do want to give him a featured match at WrestleMania. But why should that featured match be against somebody he's already beaten one-on-one? This is where you get the idea that maybe they'll introduce the Lucha Brothers and they'll make their tag team debut at WrestleMania. And the opponents will likely be Ludwig Kaiser and Pete Dunne as a way to sneak Pete Dunne on the show. Which, if you got to be snuck on the show, you ain't got no business on the show, right? Next, Chad Gable is a Fed. He's walking around, I'm guessing, Mexico, asking random people, you seen this guy? You know who this guy is? Man, they'd have kidnapped or put him in an oil drum. They don't play that shit in Mexico. You can't walk around with a picture of a guy asking people, do you know who this guy is, in English. They'd have cut his throat open and pulled his tongue through his neck. There's no way you're going to get away with that in anything other than a wrestling vignette. They don't play that. Anyway, he met some Mexican guy. I'm just going to assume the guy was Mexican. He was wearing a poncho, so I'm going to assume he was not engaging in cultural appropriation. He was hanging out in a dark alley. He gave the guy, what was it, $500? And the guy gave Chad Gable a box. It said that Chad Gable can't fight what he doesn't understand. And now he holds a power beyond his comprehension. And the guy told him that he needs to become Lucha. And in order to understand lucha, you must become lucha. And I'm thinking there's a mask in the box, and he's going to have to wear a luchador's mask, and then he'll understand lucha. I was making jokes like this got to be Juventud Guerrera, right? Like it's got to be the juice. He's hanging out in a black alley wearing a poncho. It's got to be the juice, right? But I don't think so. This was kind of a fun vignette here. I did not hate this vignette. It was kind of over the top with Chad Gable, doing an investigation, but it was funny. He had to end up paying for this box. And I think there's a mask in the box. I think they're going to give him some kind of weird mask, just to make fun of him for a little bit. And he's going to end up getting robbed, meaning he's going to pay all that money for nothing. And it's just going to be a mask in the box. And he's not going to learn a damn thing about Lucha Libre. The Creed brothers were defeated by the War Raiders. I love the Creeds. They do such a good job in every match. But they're not allowed to really develop in terms of personalities. They're not allowed to have a feud with other teams. They just have good matches, and that's it. The War Raiders, they're the tag team version of Kevin Owens. They're everything that the internet dirt sheet guys like that I don't care about. I just don't care about them. They exist. That's it. So Chad Gable, he got railroaded from the looks of things. And both Ivy and the Creeds have lost. So we'll see how Alpha Academy, or is it Alpha Academy? American Made, I'm sorry. How they're going to handle being embarrassed, because nobody has accomplished a damn thing that they were supposed to accomplish at this point in time. And man, a year ago, Chad Gable was one of the hottest baby faces in the company. And now he's buying drugs? Is that what we're supposed to? Is that what he was doing? Was it drugs? I'm thinking it's lucha mask. Now I'm thinking it might be horse testosterone in that alley. Especially if you want to understand lucha libre, maybe horse testosterone is exactly what you need to get. Cerveza or something, Anyway, speaking of luchadors, the LWO had a vignette, which included Cruz del Toro talking, and I didn't even know he had a voice. My God. The New Day and the LWO are going to have a tornado tag team match next week. It's going to be Ray and Dragon Lee versus the New Day. That ought to be fun. The LWO are basically reskin Lucha House Party, in my opinion. Lucha House Party was such a ridiculous gimmick, but people thought they were fun, at least in NXT they were fun. Now there's no fun in the LWO. They all try to be serious, and they all in the dark and everything. Stop it. You're not intimidating. You're the wrong kind of Mexicans to be intimidating. And then one of you guys ain't even Mexican in the first place. So, who cares? Now, the main event of the show is where things get a little bit weird. Io Sky defeats Rhea Ripley to win the women's championship in the most obvious triple threat bait ever. The match was phenomenal. The match was really good. Io and Rhea, great chemistry. They did a good job. Only issue is Io was so much smaller than Rhea. Some of the stuff wasn't really that believable, but they both did a really good job. Bianca Belair, who earlier in the night said she didn't want to get involved with Jade and Naomi until she had an opportunity to talk to both of them, which sounds like she's kicking the ball down the road. She don't want to handle it. She ain't got to. It ain't her business. But she said she wants to focus on WrestleMania, and she's going to sit ringside to watch this match, which she does. So Bianca is ringside. Io and Rhea, they're having a nice one here. Bianca is clearly cheering for Io, and that annoys Rhea Ripley, who shoves her. So Bianca gets up and she shoves Rhea back right in front of the referee. The referee doesn't disqualify Io because it was just a push. It wasn't like a physical strike, even though she did shove Rhea into the ring apron, which is kind of like shoving her into the ring post or the ring steps. It could cause injury. Anyway, Rhea goes for the riptide off the second rope, or maybe use the top rope, one or the other. Io counters it to the head scissors. She follows that with the moonsault and gets a clean 3 count in the middle of the ring. Oh boy. Shocking moment. A nice twist. I gotta say, Triple H really did. He pulled a fast one on us on this one. Nobody expected Io to win the title. So that was a good surprise. The problem with that is I already know where this leads, and you know it too. And I just talked about this. I hate fucking triple threat matches. And that's the only option we got here. There's no way that Rhea Ripley gets a rematch and beats Io and then beats Io again in a way that gets her out of this thing in the next 6 weeks. So that tells me they're going to completely throw away the fact that Bianca Belair won the Elimination Chamber by forcing her into a triple threat match. So now I'm annoyed because it's going to be a triple threat match. I'm beyond annoyed about that. But now what's got my ass itching is that we're not going to get Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. Now, if, let's say, they decide to book Rhea versus Bianca without the title, and Io defends the title against somebody else. Let's say Io is going to defend her championship against somebody else. Well, how would you get Bianca's title shot taken away so that could happen? It's not going to happen. The only other option is Rhea wins the belt back. And then you have Io say, well, I rematch. And there's not enough time for it, so they just shoved her in a triple threat match. Or you're probably going to have Rhea come out, blame her loss on Bianca. That's going to be a decent point. They're going to have their issue. And then Rhea's going to bully Io. They may try to run one more match that's going to end in disqualification or something like that. But I don't think we're just going to end up with, oh, now it's Io versus Bianca. And they had a great match last year at was it Raw after WrestleMania or something? They really killed it. If I thought for a second it would just be those two, I would still think it was great. But something tells me this is going to be a triple threat match. I don't want to see a triple threat match. I wanted Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair. That's what I wanted. That's what I ordered. Io is great. She really is. But we didn't need her in this role. She could have been in a tag team championship match or something at WrestleMania rather than this. It feels weird that we're in this position. And it also feels odd that Triple H would have such a slam dunk in the women's division. A super heavyweight match between Rhea and Bianca, and he would throw a curveball in that. You know, that come on. You know, it's just as weird as Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble. It's like, yeah, you could do that, but why would you? This is like one of the few times where you should just did the vanilla booking. The vanilla booking is Rhea beats this girl, and then she calls out Bianca, demands that, you know, see who's the baddest bitch in WWE. And that's what you go with. Rhea, Bianca, who's the best? You know? Especially since they're both baby faces. Who's the best? Io can go do something else. I mean, she's always in the title picture anyway. Since Triple H took over, there has been an inordinate amount of time of that women's division occupied by Io Sky. Either she's challenging for the belt, or she has the belt, and it's either belt, either the women's title, the tag title. She was even in the tournament for the Intercontinental Championship. All right, there has been and the King and Queen of the Ring. She was in the Queen of the Ring 2 tournament too, I think. There has been an inordinate amount of time spent booking Io Sky, and she is the one person that is getting a mega push from Triple H. You know, nobody else is getting a super mega push from Triple H except Io. She's the only one. Thankfully, she's very talented, but this is not the time for Triple H to do this. It is not the time. Should have just went with Rhea versus Bianca. You can still do that, but you have to figure out how Bianca doesn't have her title shot anymore. Or even if you had Rhea beat Io for the belt, you would then say, shouldn't Io get a rematch? You know, like, there's no way out of this once you've given the title to Io that this doesn't become a triple threat match. So he ruined his biggest marketable match. And this is what I mean by when I said earlier, bookers having to not commit. More than likely, Triple H is going to say, WrestleMania does not need Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair. We got John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. We got a bunch of other stuff that's going to happen. Let's save that match for another show. So let's make this one a triple threat match where it's be just as good. They can wrestle each other. You can get a taste of it. But in reality, we're going to kick the ball down the road to, let's say, Backlash or something, where it's a weaker card and a stronger match on a weaker card. That's the problem, right? Because WrestleMania is the big show. It's the biggest show. You don't take things off of WrestleMania to put them on Raw or SmackDown or fucking Backlash, okay? You give us what we want to see for WrestleMania. You can play your stupid games with like Battleground or Clash at the Castle or whatever the fuck, right? If you want to fiddle fuck around with Saturday night's main event, okay, fine. But WrestleMania, you should give us the biggest possible match that you could do. The biggest marquee match you got for the women's division is Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair. Why would you want to change that to literally anything else? It doesn't make sense. I don't care how much you love Io. It does not make sense for you to change that match. How do we get back there with Io with the title? I don't think we do. So I think we just got to accept that this is going to be a triple threat match. And you got to accept that Triple H is a booker with no balls. All right? He can't just say, Io is not your year. You're going to be in a tag team match. It's going to be in the early part of it. Or just keep her off the card in general. Maybe she can't do a tag team match because she doesn't have a partner. It seems like both Dakota and Kyrie are constantly injured. You know, and it's like they get injured going to the grocery store, for God's sake. She was picking up a cantaloupe and twisted her wrist. Who knows what's going on here? All right. But don't do this. You know, like, I'm almost like to the point of just saying, please don't do this. This is stupid. You know, but it is what it is, man. Io versus Rhea was great, though. It was a good night for in-ring action. The tag team championship match was good in the ring. The women's title match was good in the ring. The women's intercontinental belt match was okay. A little sloppy, but Ivy doesn't have a lot of experience, so it makes sense. They did a huge angle on Saturday with John Cena, and they basically just replayed the angle 1,000 times and showed all the cringe reactions from it. The cringe ESPN stuff and the cringe people streaming themselves, all that stuff. And I get it. Yeah, they wanted to milk this thing, but they said to us, John Cena's already gone. He's gone off to make movies. Okay. So you went and did all this stuff and immediately took him off TV. Don't get it. Don't get why you couldn't capitalize on this. Just showing 1,000, like, everybody's seen it a bunch of times already. This is the thing about social media, 2025 versus 1996. When Hogan turned heel in 96, he was on Nitro the very next night to continue the feud, to continue the heat, right? John Cena turns heel and then he disappears. Now all we left with was video packages that we've seen 100 times because we live on social media. It's been all over Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. It's been on everything. There has been cartoons drawn of it. There's been AI things. There's people doing stuff with 2K where he's kneeling to The Rock and all this sort of stuff. And then neither Cena or Rock show up. I don't know why you don't follow up that angle with something. Outside of just random guys. Like, hey, AJ Styles, you got nothing going on with your life. Talk about John Cena. And then, a fiery, but mostly peaceful CM Punk promo. It was okay. So I obviously think they dropped the ball on the John Cena thing by not following up. And I'm not saying they need to do a whole lot, but he needs to at least be in the building and take the heat. You know, even if he didn't say anything, even if he just pulled a Chris Jericho and came out there and stood in front of everybody, showed his disgust and walked out, that would have been far more interesting than, hey, let's show the clip 1,000 times and here's Shannon Sharp talking about it. Like, okay, I get it. Shannon Sharp and Stephen A. Smith was talking about it on ESPN, so it's a big deal, but ESPN is dead. It's not what it used to be. It's in no way what it used to be. I think it being tweeted out, by like baseball teams and stuff is more relevant than, ESPN now. ESPN is a dying brand. But these talents on ESPN, like Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp, are still very popular. They just don't watch them on ESPN, which is absolutely hilarious, by the way. So, in terms of Monday Night Raw, I forgot about this. Becky Lynch decided she was going to reply to CM Punk's promo. So, a fan decided to post a picture of CM Punk and Roxanne Perez apparently wearing matching gear. I can't tell you if it's matching gear or not because I'm not looking that closely. I don't think that the gear is matching, if we're being honest. And Becky Lynch says, catching up on Raw, I don't think I'm the one who needs to come get my man. And of course, this is one of those many illusions that CM Punk is doing something untoward with Roxanne and or Cora Jade, which is, very porn brain stuff. Look, I get it. CM Punk is a kind of a creep. He had a reputation in the locker room in 2005 or whatever. But him taking a great interest in the careers of these two fans, who just happen to be, 20-something-year-old girls, I think it's fine, But I will say, there is a picture of CM Punk peeking at Roxanne as Roxanne is cutting a promo. I don't know where this was. I'm not sure if it was Raw, NXT, or one of those kickoff panels or whatever. But Roxanne was talking, and then there's Punk in the background, and he looks like he's behind the curtain or something like that. And it seems like he's cheering her on or something like, something that's supposed to be wholesome if you're looking at it from, an Edith Bunker kind of way of looking at things. We're like, oh, that's very sweet. But if you're in any way porn-brained or cynical, you're like, man, why is he leering at this girl like this? Stop it. Stop being weird. And look, I know your wife is a crash out. I already know it. She says she got bipolar disorder. She is a crash out. Don't do this to yourself. You're setting yourself up for failure. And I bet you she got like a belt full of knives, like Batman or something like that. There's all kind of sharp objects in the house. I wouldn't do it if I were you. I wouldn't. But I'm not one of those people who think that he's doing something untoward with these young ladies, man. I think they just idolize him, and he's playing into it. He's giving them guidance or whatever. But there was a time when you probably wouldn't have wanted Shawn Michaels in the locker room with a bunch of 20-something-year-old girls either. It seems like the NXT is being run exactly by the people you shouldn't want running NXT. But I'm not going to, think that Punk is doing anything weird. I just think that some of the pictures are very odd, And I don't think he's being quite careful enough in how he looks in those pictures. I don't think they were wearing matching gear anyway. I can't tell. They just were both wearing black. That's all I can come up with. But it was a nice burn for Becky Lynch. Gave him a jab because she got one. That was pretty funny. Outside of that, when it comes to Raw, the main event was really good. I like the Chad Gable segment. CM Punk's promo was quite good too. And that's about it. That's about the 3 biggest hits on the show. I love the Creed brothers. They had a really good tag team match, but it involves those other guys, so I gotta temper my reaction. But again, the Creeds were really good. So the mid card of Monday Night Raw is a disaster. When it comes to the women's championship, and I mean the Intercontinental Championship and the tag team titles. I mean, those things are completely up for grabs. I don't expect either one of those belts to make WrestleMania, by the way. I don't think that Women's Intercontinental Championship is going to get defended at WrestleMania. I don't think they're probably going to do it the day after, the Monday Night Raw afterwards. And the same thing with the Women's U.S. belt. I don't think it's going to make the main card. I think they're going to defend it on the show beforehand as an appetizer to WrestleMania. And hell, Liv Morgan had a hell of a year, but I don't see how she can be able to defend the tag team belts at WrestleMania against what tag team? There's only really one, and that's Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. Unless it's going to be the Meta Girls or somebody like that. I don't see anybody in position to wrestle Raquel and Liv. Now that Ivy's title run is over, the only person, or Ivy's title chase is over, I'm guessing Raquel Rodriguez is going to take that spot, but now she's a tag team champion. Like, do you really run those things concurrently? I guess you could, because you don't have any tag team contenders. I guess you could get away with that, maybe. Then you got the Intercontinental Championship match where it seems like they've committed to going for AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. So that opens up Braun Breaker to wrestle Finn Balor. I like both of those matches as singles matches. If they decide they want to complicate things by making it some kind of fatal 4-way triple threat battle royal thing, I'm not a fan of the battle shabazzles. I'm good on those. Other than that, you got to find somewhere to square away Penta, who might not make the card either unless you're going to squeeze them in a tag team. So, when it comes to Raw, there's more questions than answers. But some of the stuff you did get was actually quite good. Punk's promo was actually quite good. Tag team championship main event. But the show felt like it dragged and it went on too long, especially the Gunter Otis thing. I did not care about that. And I'm tired of Jey Uso already. They're not doing anything to make Jey Uso interesting. They're trying to take a knee and stay the course and hope he stays over all this time. And as they book this thing 50-50, essentially, which doesn't do anybody any favors. But let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you folks later.
No one does it better.